Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari. So tonight we will be reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and we'll be reading from Chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. And we'll be reading from text 11. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ye yata mam prapadyante tamstatava bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. So Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is speaking, and he saying here in this verse, as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Purport. Uh-oh. Okay, so purport. Everyone is searching for Krishna and the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence and as the all-pervading Supersoul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotee wants him. One devotee may want Krishna as the Supreme Master, another as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally, according to their different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocations of feelings are there, and they are equally exchanged by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotees, both here and in the transcendental abode, associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord, and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. Such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal blissful personality of Godhead. Consequently, they cannot relish the bliss of transcendental personal service to the Lord, having extinguished their individuality. Some of them, who are not firmly situated even in the personal existence, return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desires for activities. They are not admitted into the spiritual planets, but they are again given a chance to act on the material planets. For those who are fruitive workers, the Lord awards the desired results of their prescribed duties as the Yogeshvara. And those who are yogis seeking mystic powers are awarded such powers. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy alone, and all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Unless, therefore, one comes to the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts remain imperfect. As it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10, Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether one is without desire, the condition of the devotees, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or is after liberation, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Makam Karitavachalam Pangam Langate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundinitaranam Vanshakapatirubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauda Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, translation one more time. As all surrender unto me, Krishna says, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the biography of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, authentic biography of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, come again around 500 years ago to teach us the method and mood of a devotee, to teach us how to become devotees of Krishna. So it's a beautiful biography. So in that biography, he is teaching one of his students, and he tells them, Rupa Goswami tells him, Jivar Sruphoy Krishna Nitya Das, that you, O Rupa Goswami, and actually everyone, are eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is our identity. So in this material world and material existence, there are so many material designations, such as age, age of the body, ethnicity, even what one does for work, even one's religion could be seen as a upadi or a material designation. So there's so many material designations, and we see that within our life, as Krishna says, right, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptidiras tatra namuyati, that as the embodied soul, means the embodied soul, the soul embodied in a material body, as embodied soul continuously passes from childhood to youth to old age. Similarly, the soul at the time of death goes into another body. It's the principle of reincarnation. But looking at this, looking at the embodied soul in a particular body, we see that we've had so many bodies. Once we were a young child, an adolescent, older, so our body's changing. So our age is changing. So it's difficult to, it's like our identity in material existence is always changing. We're not exactly sure. We keep on morphing. Like people, a number of you here in the audience have young children, or you may have young children. But eventually the children get older, and your role as a mother, for example, changes. The children are no longer young children in your house. Eventually they move out of your house. Then you have a whole other kind of sense of identity. And then the children move out of the house, and they get married, and then they have their children. And then you have a whole other identity, namely a grandfather. Sureshwar is laughing because he just became a grandfather. Hare Krishna to you. Sureshwar was waiting to be a grandfather so he could feed his young grandchild lots of Hare Krishna, right, sweets, right? You're waiting for that. And then once they start crying, you could say, okay, Bharat, you take back. Some people say that if I knew how fun it was to be a grandfather or grandmother, I would have skipped being a father or mother. Right? Of course, it's not possible. But so in this way, our identity is changing. It's always materially, it's always changing. But as Lord Chaitanya, he's telling Rupa Goswami that we are eternal servants of Krishna. That never changes. We're always eternal servants of Krishna, whether we realize that or not. So the whole practice of Krishna consciousness is to help us realize that more and more, which tends to be a gradual process, kind of like the rising of the sun. Rising of the sun, it gradually rises. It doesn't just hop. I have some bad relationship with this mic, apparently. I have to be very careful. Maybe I'll try to use this hand more. So the rising of the sun gradually rises. It doesn't just like maybe in cartoons or something, it just goes up in the sky, but it gradually rises. So similarly, our understanding, our realizations in Krishna consciousness, they gradually happen. Like the rising of the sun, gradually everything also becomes brighter. If we very sincerely try to practice Krishna consciousness. So in relation to sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness, in realizing these things. Krishna says here that as people approach me, I reward them accordingly. So if somebody wants to forget Krishna, if somebody wants to forget God, then he makes all the necessary arrangements for that. In other words, he gives free will to do that if they want to be forgetful. Krishna is there traveling with us as the Supersoul. Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sandavishta. He's there within our heart. And if we want to forget him, then in our heart he'll inspire us in that way. He'll give us the intelligence to do that. Don't go to the temple. Go to the bar. Means he doesn't want to do that. That's our material intelligence speaking. He doesn't want to do that, but in our mad attempts to forget him, he just facilitates that. And our material intelligence, our materialistic mind, and if you want to say false ego, becomes louder than the conscience, which a good conscience means it's the super soul trying to encourage us in the right way. So he will reciprocate with us. And if we want to remember him, he'll also help us. He'll give us all necessary intelligence to do that. One time, a early disciple of Srila Prabhupada in Boston, he met Srila Prabhupada, our teacher, and the student, young man, asked a question, that there are so many processes of God realization, of self-realization. There's so many gurus. How am I to know which one to practice, which one to follow? And then Srila Prabhupada said, that depends on your goal. Do you want to serve God or do you want to be God? And then in the person's mind, he felt that Srila Prabhupada was looking right through him, seeing through all of his desires, looking right through him, going through the whole city of Boston, all the way to his apartment, and inside his apartment into the bathroom. And in the bathroom there was a very ornate painted canvas that said, "You are God," that he painted. So he really felt that Srila Prabhupada was seeing through him. And then Srila Prabhupada went on to explain that, the young man first said, well, originally I was thinking I should be God, but maybe I should serve God. And then Srila Prabhupada said that God is always God. Krishna is always God. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he is God. On the lap of his mother, Mother Yashoda, he is God. God's always God. Krishna is always God. It's not that God becomes God by some meditation. And then he said that if you want to serve God, he will help you. He will give you all the necessary light, because in the example, it's the Bhakti Lata Bij, it's this plant of devotion that eventually produces the fruit of love of God. So Srila Prabhupada said he will give you all the light necessary for this spiritual plant that will produce the fruit of the love of God. He will give you all water necessary. He'll give you everything you need to make progress, to serve him. And then Srila Prabhupada said, but if you want to be God, why should he help the competition? And at that point, the person realized, yes, I should want to serve God. So he offered his obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, and he was a bit shy to get up because he was thinking that everybody would be looking at him and kind of like scowling at him, like, oh, this guy wanted to be God. So he was offering obeisances for a very long time. And then he heard spoons rattling and this and that, and then he got up, and then he saw everybody was smiling, and they were serving the Sunday feast, which we'll be serving soon. So So yes, if we want to be Krishna conscious, if we want to be God conscious, Krishna will help us. He'll give us all necessary intelligence to do that. And even further, Srila Prabhupada explains that there are different stages of realization, of God realization. The Bhagavat Purana says, Vedanti tat vavidas tattvam yajkanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdite. That there are three aspects to the absolute truth: the Brahman realization, the personal aspect, the God in everyone's heart, that's another aspect, and then the most full aspect, which is Bhagavan Krishna, means the personality of God, at Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha, the eternal, all blissful personality of Godhead, who has a Satchidananda spiritual form and is the cause of all causes. So there's different stages. Now, looking at those stages, when somebody becomes self-realized or God-realized, and when one's living with Krishna in the spiritual world, one can have different relationships with Krishna, as Srila Prabhupada says here in the purport, that one can serve Krishna as a lover, one can serve Krishna as his son, different relationships. One can serve Krishna as a friend, and one can serve Krishna as a master. So there's different relationships one can have with Krishna. And Krishna, he comes to the material world every so often, right? Pritranaya saranam vanashaya chaduskritam, to reestablish the principles of religion and protect the devotees, annihilate the miscreants. This comes every once in a while to do that, and to attract us to his eternal pastimes. So soon we'll be, I believe it's tomorrow, we'll be entering the month of Kartik. So Kartik is a special month that happens every year, and it's a time where Krishna's mercy is more available. The example is given, it's like a wholesale. For example, I remember I was given this example one time, but for example, if you look at the store, everybody knows, I would think, maybe you're really detached and you don't know, but Nordstrom's, everybody probably knows Nordstrom's, right? I would think. So let's just say it's there's a sale there, 75% off. That's pretty good. So I suspect that there will be a lot of people lining up out of the door and trying to get in there and buy all the stuff they can, as much stuff as possible. Just like we have Black Friday, people they line up outside of Best Buy or wherever to get their huge flat screen TVs or their laptops or whatever. Camp there. Because there's a sale. It's a good sale. Everybody likes a good deal, right? Shop till you drop. Hare Krishna. Everybody likes a good deal. So similarly, this Kartik is like a very good deal. Starting tomorrow, going for 30 days, it's a very good deal. That if we want Krishna's mercy, it's more readily available. Even if we just do very, very small endeavor to try to serve Krishna. For example, every day here at the temple and in many people's homes, what they'll do is they'll get a picture of Mother Yashoda, Krishna's mother, and baby Krishna, and they'll offer a lamp to that picture in the morning and the evening. And from that, so many wonderful blessings are there available. We get closer to Krishna. Sometimes devotees, they take on different austerities. They'll eat once a day, or they'll chant more rounds. Instead of chanting 4, they'll chant 6. Instead of chanting 16, they'll chant 20. They'll chant more. They'll read more scripture. So they do different things. One devotee asked another devotee, and he gave the same answer that he gave the previous year. This devotee asked him, "What are you going to do for Kartik?" And he said, "No newspapers." Of course, it's a different time. I mean, now mostly people are reading online, but the principle, no news. That's what he was, because it could be a real time consuming thing. So whatever the case is, to try to do something a little extra than what we usually do. And that will provide us a lot more mercy. We'll become closer to Krishna like that. I think they also call it, what is it called? This Kartik, but I think it's called Urja also, right? Is that right? Right? Yeah. Urja, which U-R-G-A, Urja. So it comes like Urja Vrata. So we have Ujeshwari over here to my right. That's, Ujeshwari is referring to the queen of Kartik month, Urja, the month of Urja. So Ujeshwari. That's Srimati Radharani. Of course, she's Ujeshwari Devi Dasi. So yeah, it's a very wonderful time. And also on the Sundays, they sing a particular song, Damodar Ashtakam, which will be sung here in the evenings every Sunday, and we'll also offer lamps here at the temple. So the history behind this month is that, as I was saying, Krishna appears every once in a while to display his pastimes. So he appeared around 5,000 years ago. And as a young baby Krishna, one day his mother was feeding him. And while she was feeding him, she noticed that there was some milk boiling on the stovetop, and it was boiling over. So she noticed that in her peripheral vision. And then she put Krishna down to go tend to the milk. So in Krishna's pastimes, they're extraordinary pastimes. So the acharyas explain, our previous acharyas explain, that everything in Krishna Leela is conscious. Not like in the material world, everything is not exactly conscious. But in the spiritual world, everything's conscious in Krishna's pastimes. So our acharyas explain that the milk was thinking. That if Mother Yashoda, or if Krishna becomes satisfied with Mother Yashoda's feeding him, what will be my service? So therefore, the milk boiled over. And this was special milk from the hills of Govardhan, got by special cows. So Mother Yashoda, she was thinking that my son, he's going to so many other persons' households, and he's stealing butter and milk and different things like that, so he must not be satisfied with what I'm providing here. So she wanted to have this special butter. So it was very special milk. So the milk boiled over, and Krishna was left there, not fully satisfied from being fed, and he became angry. So looking at Mother Yashoda putting down Krishna, it may seem that Mother Yashoda was acting out of the realm of pure devotional service. In other words, it may seem that her activity of putting Krishna down, serving Krishna personally, and tending to this milk was a selfish activity. So how is it that it wasn't a selfish activity? It wasn't a selfish activity because that milk was for Krishna, which the technical word of things related to Krishna is tadiya, which means the things in relation to Krishna. So Lord Shiva, talking to Parvati, his wife, his good wife, Parvati. Don't mess with Parvati. Everybody, be careful. So speaking with Parvati, she was asking, what's the highest method of worship? And Lord Shiva told Parvati, his wife, that Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param, that the highest form of worship is worship of Vishnu. But even higher than the worship of Vishnu is of things related to Vishnu. Tadiya, the word is there. Now what does that mean? That means to worship the devotees. Krishna loves the devotees so much that he's more pleased when the devotees are properly appreciated and respected and worshipped. So this tadiya, this milk, was in the form, it was tadiya, it was in relation to Krishna. So Mother Yashoda was not going out of the realm of pure devotional service. It was for the pleasure of Krishna. But still, Krishna became angry. And his eyes became very red out of anger, and he bit his lip out of anger, and then he left. And where did he go? Does anyone remember? I'm sure everybody, remember, right? He went and he got a stone and he broke pot, yogurt, butter, and he was eating, feeding to the monkeys, and making a big mess. I remember somebody showed me a picture, and it was of these two young boys, like little toddlers, and they had like, you know, kids, they have like this like container of green goo. They both had, and they're just like, it was everywhere. It was all over the place. So, and they were looking there very innocently, you know. So Krishna, he left, he broke this, he was eating the contents. And Mother Yashoda, she saw little Krishna's footprints there, buttery footprints there, so she was able to find him. And then Krishna started running. And then while he was running, Mother Yashoda was having a hard time catching him. I mean, he's Krishna, so. Even the great yogis and so on, they have a hard time catching Krishna, so Mother Yashoda was having a hard time catching Krishna. So then eventually, she caught Krishna. And then she was thinking, now I will punish my son, so he won't do this anymore. I have to try to discipline my son. So there was a wooden grinding mortar to grind spices and dal and things like that. No blender system, so all mortar grinding. So she was thinking, okay, let me tie him to this. So she gathered all the rope from her house, her neighbors' homes, and she couldn't do it. She was trying, and she couldn't do it. And all her friends were looking and laughing, and she actually tried to do this all day long. She's really determined. And eventually, by her hard endeavor, by her hard work, Krishna bestowed his mercy. He allowed himself to be bound. And therefore he has the name Damodar, which means bound by the rope, or bound by a rope around the belly. So, so this teaches us a very important principle in spiritual life, that it is not that we become spiritually realized or self-realized or God-realized just by God's mercy alone. We can't just wait for God's mercy or Krishna's mercy. We can't wait. But through the combination of our hard work, our endeavor, our effort, trying, then Krishna will see that, and then he'll give us his mercy, and then we'll be successful. So that's what we learn from this pastime of Damodar and Yashoda. So then Krishna, he was thinking, first, my mother, she didn't feed me, I'm not fully satisfied. And then, now she's bound me by ropes to this wooden mortar. Now I'm going to do even something more mischievous than before. So then he saw these two trees, which there's a history behind these trees. So Nalakuva and Managriva trees, they were two degraded licentious men, sons of Kuvera, who were in the celestial Ganga, Ganges water there, enjoying life with women. And Narada Muni passes by. And they're so intoxicated, they're so bewildered, it says their eyes are rolling behind their head, and they don't notice Narada Muni. The girls, they notice Narada Muni, and they hide and everything, but they're so out of it. So then Narada Muni, he curses them. But this was a blessing curse, that may you take birth as trees in the sun, in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father. So then Krishna was there, he saw these trees, and then he pulled these trees down, and they came out, and they were liberated, these two personalities. So that's a whole pastime in it of itself, the trees and what we could learn from that. But that's a brief mention of it. Sorry, I had a hard time not saying it. But there's a lot to learn from that too. So it's a special month, and we're worshiping Damodar in this month, Krishna, Mother Yashoda Krishna. And we should all try, at least my humble opinion is, we should all try to do something a little more, and that will be to our benefit. Okay, does anybody have any question or comment? Yes, Guru Krishna. Pass. Yes, okay, Mike.
It just came to mind when you were describing how the body changes and the soul is passing through.
Yeah.
So that's very gradual.
Mm-hmm.
According to Krishna, we should come to the conclusion that because the soul's going from baby to child to youth to old age, that we'll get another body at the time of death. But I have an argument to that.
Okay.
Maybe you can smash the argument. So, the argument is that there's such a gradual process. Why should we assume that there's going to be this, immediately go into another body after the gradual process? Why should we assume that we're going to just immediately, at the time of death, go into the womb of another mother and develop a body?
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that are not exactly gradual. Like, for example, when one takes birth, of course, people are mothers are in labor for some time, but you're out in the world, you're out. So, and also death is also, of course, there's working your way up to death, but there's the actual point of death, which is quick. But it's really a matter of what authority we accept ultimately. Who do we accept as our authority? Do we accept do we accept Krishna? Do we accept Freud? Who do we accept? Do we accept Socrates? Who do we accept as our ultimate authority? Do we accept much of what people do nowadays? They read something from here, something from there, something from here, something from there, or they're just naturally thinking certain things, like hedonistic things or whatever. But actually, whether they know it or not, whatever they're thinking, whatever they're practicing, is a mix-up of so many different philosophies of the past. Generally, it's a type of mix-up thing. So it depends on who we accept as authority. So if we accept Krishna as our authority, or the Vedas as our authority, and there's reasons to accept that. The Vedas are a very comprehensive source of knowledge, and by practicing the principles in the Vedas, we could see practically within our own lives and the lives of so many others that there's so much benefit. Those being some reasons, but there's other reasons. If we accept Krishna's authority or the Vedas' authority, that's what they're saying, that death is like going to sleep for, 9 months? Right? 9 months? That's how long babies take, right? 9 months, and then waking up. So it's a bit of a process. You go into the womb of a mother, and then you're there for 9 months, and then you come out. So it's a bit of a process. It's not exactly immediately, So, anyways, I hope that.
Well, at least at the time of birth, that's a pretty immediate thing.
Yeah.
The time of death may not be so immediate also, but fairly immediate. I think what Krishna is trying to say is that although it's a gradual process in this life, the only real logical conclusion is that the soul will go into another body. Otherwise, there's no real other logical conclusion. The soul just goes away and disappears, and that goes against the law the material law of nature, where energy is eternal. So it has to go somewhere.
I mean, it's a question of what somebody understands and what somebody accepts to be truth. Some people don't accept the reality of the soul. But if one accepts that there's a soul, and that it's not just by chemical, we're not just a bag of chemicals, then, what happens to the soul at the time of death? And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, as we're discussing, that based on our desires and our activities, we get a corresponding material birth. Or, if we are successful in Krishna consciousness, if we become Krishna conscious, then we don't take another material body, but we take a spiritual body, eternal, blissful spiritual body, and we rejoin Krishna and his eternal pastimes. So that's the real, you could say, point, that we should try to cut the cycle of birth and death and rejoin Krishna and his pastimes. So, any other question or comment? All right, Guru Krishna's calling. Okay.
In Damodar Lila, there's the pastime where, leading up to the stealing of the yogurt and butter and the felling of the Arjun trees, the milk is boiling over.
Yeah.
Now, there's different opinions on why the milk is boiling over. Are you familiar with some of those?
Well, I stated one. Maybe if you want to say others, I might be familiar, if there's others. The one I stated was that the milk was thinking that if Krishna becomes satisfied by Mother Yashoda feeding him, then I won't have any service. That's what the milk was thinking. Is that what you're referring to?
I think I've heard that one. I was wondering if there was another one.
I don't remember. Maybe you remember something? Okay, there you go.
I remember when Yashoda Mataji was trying to chase Krishna, she was wearing, she has flowers on her head, and the flowers also running with Yashoda Mata to catch Krishna, to get a chance to touch Krishna.
Oh, the flowers
and the
were
flowers
also
felt, oh my God, she's not still taking me there. Let me get one chance to touch Krishna. And some of them fell down without reaching Krishna, and they feel very bad. So I read somewhere. So this another, everything is conscious in that.
Yeah. In terms of the milk, though.
What about the fire? The fire has to cooperate with the milk somehow, So what was the fire
Well, I mean, at
Thinking.
least with this particular case, the milk boiled over. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe he told the fire, "Hey, go higher." So that's there.
What is the benefit that the fire gets from all this cooperation?
Maybe they're friends. They're cooperating.
Yes, Agni.
I haven't heard anything about the fire. Yes. Can you pass a mic, somebody, to... It's right here, mic in the corner, just so other people could hear.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So you mentioned that this is a very special month. So what are some rituals or things that one should be doing during this month and why?
Okay. So what are some things that one could be doing throughout this month and why? So, I mean, if we think about like why would Krishna create a month, or why would Krishna create certain opportunities for people to advance? I mean, he's clearly doing that out of his kindness. Because, Krishna wants to see us make progress. He wants to see us make spiritual progress. So he comes up with all of these different things to help us, to encourage us. That if you do this, understanding the minds of the living entities, that if you do this at this time, you'll benefit a lot. And people think, yes, I'll do that. So the 5 most potent forms that Rupa Goswami talks about, and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Prabhupada translated that as nectar devotion. There's 64 principles, quite a lot. I'm not sure, there's probably some devotee who's memorized all 64. I haven't met him yet, but there's 64. But Rupa Goswami boils that down to 5. 5 most potent forms of devotional service. And he says that even a slight attraction to one of these can produce transcendental ecstasy even in a neophyte or beginner. So the 5 most potent forms Rupa Goswami states are: 1, to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam or other scripture. Bhagavatam is Krishna's Leela and pastimes and so on, or Bhagavad Gita. To hear scripture. And we can make the note from a devotee of Krishna. It can't just be a pretender or a devotee who is not really a devotee for certain reasons. They may not believe in Krishna. They may be doing it for money, things like that. One of my friends told me that in India, he saw one reciter, Bhagavatam reciter, who was up on stage, and he was making a scene in a sense, like crying. And of course, our acharyas explain that, like Srila Prabhupada and others, the devotees, they try not to do that for different reasons, do this whole display thing. I mean, even if they're really feeling that transcendental, they try to check that. They don't want things to be cheapened by that or sentimentized by that. I'm not sure if that's a word, but sounds okay. Sentimentized? Anyways, sentimentized. So anyways, this man was there, and he was crying on stage talking about Krishna. And then afterwards, he came off stage, and he like blew his nose, and there was some chilies up there. So in other words, he put on this whole show. I was thinking about it recently because, anyways, I have to put on some on my face to, what is it? It's like Tiger Balm. It's supposed to help with tension, and it makes your face really cool, or wherever you put it is very cool. So I was putting some of that on my face, because I have some tension, and it like kind of makes you cry a little bit, So I think I would never do that, but maybe we can inform our friend it's an easier method than the chilies. So there's many people like that. And also amongst the audience, it's a common thing, but there was one speaker, and he was talking about Radha, and Srimati Radharani, and so on. And somebody in the audience was crying. One woman in the audience was crying. And then he gets up after the talk, and he goes to this person and says, "Oh, because he was thinking he moved her, did I move you, to cry and so on?" And she said, "Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw your beard," because he had like a little goatee, And I saw your beard, and I actually had a goat named Radha, and the goat died. So when I was seeing you reminded me of your goat. So that's why I was crying. Anyways. So whether you want to look at it from the perspective of the speaker or the audience, there has to be some sincere qualifications. It's a very serious thing, actually, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have to be sure who we're hearing from. That's one, most potent form of devotional service. So if we hear from advanced souls, devotees, persons devoted to Krishna, then that helps a lot. The second point is to chant the holy name of Krishna. So we chant on our beads, Japamala beads, or we do kirtan with musical instruments and so on. Very powerful process, most potent form of devotional service. Another one is to reside in a holy place. So the temple is a holy place. Krishna's here, the devotees are here, it's a holy place. Or we can make our home into a holy place. Let's say like a sacred space. So to spend time in such places is important. That's why a lot of devotees that go to Vrindavan during Kartik. So Krishna's holy place there in India. So that's the third one, to reside in a holy place. Another one is to associate with devotees or to serve devotees. And another one is, the last one, is to engage in deity worship. Like we have our beautiful deities here. So one could engage in deity worship, offer food, offer flowers, or if they have a picture of Krishna, like I was explaining, this offering of lamps and so on. So if one engages in these 5 most potent forms of devotional service, chanting the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, residing in a holy place, worshiping the deity and associating with devotees, then that will, if one does that in this month, then that will be a lot of progress. And in this month also, I will note that what we plan to do here at the temple is we will have what they call as a Maha, Maha means great, Maha morning program, which means every day the temple devotees and some people from living outside, they come at 4:30 in the morning to greet the deities, Krishna, and to have kirtan and to chant japa and so on, to hear class. So that happens every morning. So what we'll do here at the temple is we'll have an organized attempt to, for as many people as possible, to join in the Maha morning program starting at 4:30. Or you could join in at 7:15, either or both. And yeah, we'll have a special little gathering for the month of Kartik. It's a special celebration for Kartik. So it'll be very beneficial for the month of Kartik. And we'll also have a special breakfast for everybody who makes it through. So that will be in the month of Kartik, and we plan to continue that throughout the year. We'll have once a month. We'll try to have an organized morning thing so more can join and have some transcendental experience. So yeah, those are some of the 5. Thank you. All right.
question about. So we used to sing the Damodar Astakam, and everyone would
Yeah, we're going to do that.
over again. At the second kirtan,
Yes.
we would just all sit down.
Yes.
Some would dance.
We will do that.
Acha.
Yes, starting
Thank you
next
very
Sunday. We'll offer lamps. We'll sing Damodar Ashtakam. Yes. Okay. So, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Looks like our host is somewhere. He's there? Who's there? Somebody's there. So what we'll do now is everybody could just take their mats and we'll place them to the side, and then we'll have another kirtan. You could stand and dance and chant, and then we will serve dinner to everyone. So please stay, and thank you.